So we have questions. Three very interesting presentations, so I'm really not surprised. I'm going to start from the very first one that was given, which is for Wassim. Does this device need to be in a fixed position? So talking about the
VDoc.
Yeah.
No, the VDoc is I mean, the beauty of the VDoc, and I think Badri might be also interested. It's RTK enabled, which means that it actually connects to either an Ntrip server or a base station on site, and it allows for accurate geopositional while you're moving. So the whole intent of photogrammetry in general is to move around and capture all the images, which are then processed into a point cloud. So no, it's not stationary.
Okay, next question is an open question. How does capturing site pics help in improving the progress, as it involves a lot of interfaces and communication at the site?
If you don't mind, I can start with how our experience was. In the beginning, it really did eventually sort of produce chaos, and especially with the different media that was used. So before we actually had a proper software, so you would have WhatsApp groups, which is what 99% of people in construction eventually wind up using. And of course, we know with WhatsApp, the picture either disappears or you don't know where you filed it. You get different emails from different people. The file names are strange. Where it does really help is when you have it organized. And then this is really the key point, is when your pictures are properly organized in one place, is you have that ability to, especially as an experienced person within the construction industry, dealing with what we call boots on the ground, which are young, eager people who are covering all these pictures. You're able to immediately look at that picture and identify a problem. Badri would be lovely to sort of come in later on, because later on we would like an AI to respond to our people. And we are working on that as well.
And Badri,
wonderful.
Mohamed, anything to add? Badri first.
Sure, thank you. Yeah, I would like to make a quick point about, yes, these are definitely technologies that are bringing together different kinds of stakeholders into one kind of platform. For example, I foresee on T2D2, not just bringing asset owners who are like the end users or the clients who want to keep keep track of how their assets are evolving over time, but also engineers, architects, site data capture professionals, regulators. We want to bring all of these stakeholders into one platform that enables easy communication across the channels. And I think the cloud technologies enable us to move in that direction.
Okay, great. Khaled, I've got a question from Khaled here. Khaled, I'm going to ask you a question, but before I do, could you please let me know, if possible, who it's directed to, because it's quite a specific question. And in the meantime, I'm going to move on to the next one, and hopefully you'll be able to let me know. So the next question is, the progress measurement is again to be related with weightage you assign to each activity and sub-activity. How BIM makes this, how is BIM different from the way the progress is measured?
This is actually has to be a full process. I mean, it's not only about scanning on site, then give away to what I have found on site. No, I have to build the model. The model has to be accurate. And each time I scan, I compare to the model and quantify the amount erected on site to get the actual progress. So it has to be completed along with BIM, not only laser scanning.
Okay. I think this question is for you as well, Mohamed.
Okay.
Will your system be used for detecting leakage locations?
Laser scanning itself, no, it doesn't detect. Laser scanning, it sees what your eye can see. So anything behind the wall, under the ground, you can see. You may find some moisture on the wall, so you understand there is a leakage in this area. But again, as KCG, we don't work on our own. I mean, we do the scan to BIM, but we have also site inspection team who do the inspection they do their tests, either destructive or non-destructive test or GPR test, so they can give us the information we can't get from the laser scanning, and we integrate together to provide a full integrated solution to the client.
Wassim, a question here is, could you give some information about the setup capability cost of the entire system, operation and maintenance of the system as well?
Absolutely. I mean, it's extremely low cost. OnStruck, which is the primary software that we showed, which is basically starting with the 2D pictures with team management, etc. You can go to onstruck.com. I think they start with per user subscriptions of about $10, $8 per person per month. The next process, which is the VDOC with the capture, it works along with Pix4D for the photogrammetry, and the VDOC hardware is about $1,200 to $1,400 depending on the region. So again, very, very cheap, and all you need is an iPhone 11 or 12. So relatively inexpensive. I mean, like I said, with the VDOC, we have now up to about 9 on different sites. And we think that eventually every single one of our projects is going to have at least 2 of the VDOCs around, because they're so inexpensive.
Are you finding, though, that you still have a lot of work to do to convince clients to use this type of technology?
Luckily, we're not waiting for the clients. I mean, frankly, the first step is for us to be saving our own efforts. And with some of the more avant-garde clients, when they find out that A, we're maintaining the quality levels really well in terms of supervising contractors, B, the contractors actually also enjoying it because they're finding that we're covering a lot more of the ground. I mean, in supervision, generally speaking, we don't have enough staff due to cost elements to be on every single activity that the contractor is doing. With this, now that the contractor is also on board with our OnStruck system, they're also taking their own pictures and filing in now work inspection requests. So, and we're able to then take their picture, compare it with our picture, and then say, yes, it's approved. And once that whole digital process of documentation is also done, then even the client who's sitting and also is on the software is looking at it and going, oh, I see where the progress is. So okay. No is the right answer.
Badri, question for you. May I know, what do you mean by smart drone? Which kind of drones are usually used for SHM? Do you also use laser data?
We are building the models. I'll start with the latter part of the question first. Do I use laser data? So right now, laser data can be used to build those point clouds and the mesh models, and we can use them for 3D geotagging. Right now, we're not processing the laser data directly to identify the conditions on these assets. Come back to what kinds of drones do we use? Actually, our processing of the data is not inline, but it's offline, as in we collect all of the data from the drones and process them offline on our cloud platform. We can do it inline as well, as in we can build in the technology where the drones are flying and you get real-time assessments so that they can capture more imagery around a zone of a structure that has hotspots of conditions. So that's possible. But in terms of what these smart drones are, it's mainly the navigation capability of being able to automatically react to the conditions that we are detecting and adapt automatically. Today, it's that technology is still evolving, and we're helping that evolution going forward.
Okay, next question, Mohamed, regarding scan to BIM, how do you account for surfaces hidden inside walls? I suppose particularly with heritage sites, that must be something you really have to think about.
Actually, not only heritage, even for construction projects, especially if I have deviation in the as-built. The answer, actually, I don't want to deviate from. It depends on the project. For construction project, the project is that I have already shop drawings for, and I want just to detect the deviation, I have to check the drawings against the as-built data and then find the interface points. I find any exposed pipe, then I will realize where it enters inside the wall. In heritage, it's different. I cannot get this data since I don't have digital documentation for this asset. So what I can get, again, I get this from the inspection team using non-destructive test and GPR technology. So they provide me with these data that I can put inside my model to final and accurate output.
I have another scan to BIM question here.
Yeah, sure.
In scan to BIM, co-registration of different point clouds and the models is crucial. How do you solve this in construction sites? So the model's crucial. How do you solve this in construction sites?
I don't get
so they're saying in scan to BIM of different point clouds, how do you solve the fact that it's crucial to have I guess good models?
Is he asking about the accuracy of registering the data together?
Well, maybe
it might be challenging. This is a good question if he asks about the accuracy of merging the scans together and registering them, because you may lose a lot of accuracy while doing this process if you do it wrong. You may use like reference, you take measurements on site and check them on the final output to check to ensure that the distance is accurate and correct. You may use the coordinates on targets to check them and put the targets and put the coordinate inside the point cloud to reduce this accuracy issue.
I have
may I, Rob, if you
sure.
don't mind, there are different device hardwares, both in terms of laser and also the VDOC. And this is where RTK or anything that is geospatially connected can help. With the VDOC, we've been able to scan over 5 or 6 days and actually match the models of every single point cloud, sometimes with a minor discrepancy of like less than a centimeter. So it really does depend on your hardware.
Yeah, but I just wanna add something. In large sites, I mean, the scanner itself, for example, in some scanners, the accuracy of the scanner is less than millimeter, okay? But when you have like a kilometer, 2 kilometer tunnel, this while registering at the end of the tunnel, you may lose few meters or maybe more because of the deviation between each scan to other. If you lose like 1 centimeter between while registering a scan to another, this will make a great impact at the end. So sometimes again, you need to use coordinates and take site measurements to ensure quality.
And we have another question here that's asking what the most used format is in scanning.
It depends on depends on the scanner. I mean, some scanners LGS, the format is LGS. Some others are RCP directly. But if you want to, while importing to Revit as a reference, you have to import as RCP or RCS format.
I have an open question.
And there are many more formats, E57 and many others. So it's nice.
Okay. So the next question is for all of you. And that is, how are these technologies being made user-friendly? And what do you think, how do you convince construction contractors to adopt their use fully within things such as the mega projects within Saudi Arabia, because at the moment they're not being heavily used? So if we maybe start with Badri and then Mohamed and then Wassim.
Sure. I mean, our solution is not directed at the construction site itself, but it actually starts kind of post-construction. We start with the benchmark assessment of the structure to find any, any conditions, any structural or facade damage conditions, and then we can track them over time. And yes, certainly making it user-friendly has been our top priority. That enables more usage and it basically sets it down into their workflow. We want to make sure that it becomes part of the natural workflow so that it's not disruptive. let others opine.
First, awareness and show the benefits of these technologies, something like what we're doing right now. And also, we always struggle and try to find the workarounds to avoid and exceed the software limitations, especially for the as existing buildings, like heritage buildings and so on. And actually, I see a great potential. I mean, we started this business, this scan to BIM business in KSA like 3 years ago or 3.5 years ago. But now many clients started to ask for it because they started to see the real benefit from it.
Wassim.
I think it's a fantastic question, frankly speaking, because when we entered our whole journey as well, we found that there were solutions out there, but they were extremely complicated. Some solutions required at least about 5 to 6 months worth of setup, design your own formats, a lot of hidden costs in the process, learning curves that were incredibly long and difficult. And that was one of the main things that we did when we started our journey with OnStruck and then other people. It had to be available and accessible to everybody, both in terms of cost and in terms of ease of use. So when the guys at OnStruck say it is what's up for the construction team, yes, it really is that. It's something that we all feel that we can just, up and click away. It's really following the process that we're already used to, but just kind of guiding it into the organized way. So I think it's a very question, and I also implore people not to always look at the top most expensive, elaborate system. Sometimes easy is best.
Yeah, totally agree. Yeah, depends on your requirements.
We have just finally, the poll is now closed, and I think possibly this is not going to surprise any of you because I think you're all quite advanced technology users with what you're all doing. So in asking, do any of your major projects use digital site capture tools for remote monitoring of sites or assets? 57% of the people that voted said no. I suspect that's because it's, people are still getting used to this, still looking at how it can be used, exploring the opportunities. Would you agree, or do you think there's another reason?
Totally agree, Rob, and we've been around for 50-something years. I think we have 2 warehouses worth of box files, and that's only for the files in the last 5-6 years. It is definitely how things have been done, and a lot of people still require forms in triplicate with carbon copies as well. So it will be a challenge to move things. And really what we're looking at is digitization all the way through removing forms, removing paper, removing the whole lot. So I'm not surprised.
Mohamed, you were saying?
Yeah, same, not surprised. Even I think maybe because the people who are attending this this event are interested in technology mostly. That's why you found 25 of them has seen such projects. But if you go to the market, you will find like, oh, it's just 10%, 5% maybe. So the ratio will be less, definitely.
Yeah, indeed. I have one very last, I think, very quick question that's come in, and then we'll bring it to a close, which is what are the types of scanners that are used above the ceiling if the space is small?
It depends. I mean, usually I use, I have 2 scanners I'm using now, the BLK and the RTC, both from Leica. So above ceiling, usually the RTC works. I prefer the RTC because it provides higher accuracy, and this is very useful in this condition for me.
Well, thank you to this panel, a really interesting panel, actually.